Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Wednesday, March 6th, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, ready to break down the Wednesday card. We have 3 games on tap tonight, and the trade winds are blowing, folks. That's all we can say. Things are popping. Things are heating up today. Today's the day when, look, things are starting to move. We're starting to get traction. We're starting to get some deals done. We're starting to get more rumblings of things that might happen, and we are 48 hours away, of course, from the trade deadline, which is Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And, man, what a show we're going to have on Beantown Friday this week. It'll be basically a witching hour of sorts for us on the Friday show leading up to Friday's trade deadline. We'll be on the air, the final hour before the trade deadline hits at 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday. So that could be a really exciting show when we're on the air Friday leading up to the final minutes of the trade deadline taking place. But we'll get to all the deals in just a moment. We'll get the Tuesday recap done first from a very busy Tuesday night and a very profitable Tuesday night. In fact, one of the biggest nights I've had betting NHL for a little bit. It was a terrific night. I have nothing really to complain about. It was a really strong night of results. The only thing that I really can bitch about is the Nashville team total falling short, which was kind of frustrating because they were up 2-0. They led 3-2 in the third. It looked like they had gotten a fourth goal, the Nashville Predators, in that game. But it was a high stick. It was the right call. You can't complain about it. It was the right call. It shouldn't have counted. It didn't count. Next thing you know, Montreal ties it and wins it in overtime on a power play. And of all teams, Montreal snaps the 8-game losing streak. 8-game winning streak, I should say, for the Nashville Predators last night with a 4-3 comeback win, including a crazy goal in that game. David Savard from center ice, and it somehow goes in. Crazy ricochet, crazy hop, and one of those weird goals and fluke goals that you'll see every now and then in the NHL, and Montreal had one of those last night in that 4-3 comeback win against the Nashville Predators. Florida says, you know what? We're a wagon right now. We're a machine right now. We're shutting this shit down. Get this fucking coaching change bump bullshit out of here, is what the Florida Panthers said last night. Not on our watch. Not on our fucking watch you're doing that. What a job by Florida, man. They're just a machine. I mean, that's now their 22nd road win, tops in the NHL, all back-to-back. They had every excuse in the world to have a clunker of a night. The Florida Panthers. They had a huge win against the Rangers, back-to-back, Devils team with all the energy and pent-up adrenaline of making a coaching change, and all Florida did was not jump out in front 2-0 and basically lead the whole game. I know New Jersey tied it 2-2, but New Jersey never had the lead. Florida was always in front. They're just an absolute, utter machine right now, the Florida Panthers. What they are doing is extremely impressive. What they are doing on the road continues to be even more impressive. Again, it was everybody contributing, and say what you will about Nick Cousins, but when he can chip in goals like he did last night, for as much of a pain in the fucking ass he is as he can be, and with the antics, he has some skill. Let's not forget that. He has some ability to produce offensively, and he certainly showed that last night. We'll get to the big trade that the Florida Panthers made earlier this morning in just a bit as well. One of the few trades that went down today involving this team, and it makes a scary team even better. Pittsburgh 5-3 against Columbus. Like I said, if Pittsburgh wins this game, I'm not going to have too many beefs that I took Columbus. In fact, it wasn't all bad. I took Columbus team total over 2.5. That did cash in. They got to 3 goals. I did have a piece of the money line in this game in the draw. Those fell short, but I also had first period full game over. Not the best night for Jet Greaves. Eric Branson actually scored one for the Pittsburgh Penguins in this game. Tried to clear the puck right beside his own net, and it ricochets off someone and then goes into the net. So a tough moment for him there in that game. But look, Pittsburgh is still very shaky. I mean, even though they won that game, they blew multiple leads. 2-0 evaporated. It became 2-2, 3-2. They gave up a short-handed goal. It's just unfortunately Columbus had one of those nights where they were sloppy with the puck. Jet Greaves wasn't great in the hockey game, with all due respect. I know that's Ray's brother, Ray Bryce's friend, his pal. Wasn't his best night, unfortunately. Jet in net for Columbus. So 5-3 win there in favor of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Still not going to stop the notion of this team is going to be in sell mode going into Friday. And it's just a question now of not if, but when Jake Gensel in particular gets moved before the trade deadline. Islanders with a nice comeback. They fell down 2-0 to St. Louis, then 4 unanswered goals to beat the Blues 4-2. The win streak continues for Patrick Waugh and the New York Islanders, as is their pursuit of the Philadelphia Flyers and a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Terrific hockey game in Boston last night. I don't want to hear 2-1. It must have been boring. Nothing happened. Couldn't be further from the truth. Outstanding stuff. Back and forth. Great chances. The goaltending was sensational last night. And even in a losing effort for Linus Ullmark, he needed that. He had and look, he ended up losing. So it's actually a 6th straight loss in net for the Bruins, believe it or not. But not his fault. He played great. He's a big part of why the Bruins even got a point in that game. And, of course, Skinner was also very good once again for the Edmonton Oilers. The Bruins take the 1-0 lead. Oilers tie it late. And then in overtime, the Edmonton Oilers win it 2-1. We both cashed the draw, Alex and I, in that game, and I cashed with Edmonton as well. Thought it was a good spot for them. Revenge spot, too, after losing at home to Boston in overtime, and they basically returned the factor. They go to Boston, and they beat Boston in overtime last night, 2-1. In that game. They also made a trade just recently, about a half an hour ago, which we'll talk about in a moment. We already talked about Montreal, Nashville. How about the Seattle Kraken on a back-to-back on the road? What a hell of a job by them to go to Winnipeg, beat the Jets 4-3. Joey Decord, if you haven't seen it yet or didn't watch that game, the save he made with 10 seconds left in the third period to preserve that win for Seattle, spectacular. I was cheering. You know what's funny? I saw, because I had the end of that game on, I was cheering the save. I said, oh my gosh, what a stop. That's incredible. I'm like, with all this joy. And then 5 seconds later, I realized, holy fuck, man, that's a great save, but you cost me the draw there, Joey. Come on. Help me out here. But nevertheless, it was a hell of a save. And Seattle hangs on for the 4-3 win over the Winnipeg Jets last night. Chicago, look, blind squirrel finds a nut. Alex says that often, and that's what happened with Arvid Soderblom last night. He had a pretty solid night in net, 5-2. Brutal spot for Arizona. Jason Demers was telling me last night in text for me, he hammered Chicago, saying that's a sweet spot, these off the road trip spots. And I'm like, you sure you want to do that, man? Although he did only have them plus 1.5. On the puck line, Chicago. He was kind of like chickened out. He didn't have the guts to take a money line, but he did take him puck line. But yeah, I mean, it was a brutal spot for Arizona, and it played out that way. Like I say, 5-game road trip coming back home. And I just didn't have faith in Soderblom, and I didn't have faith in Chicago on a 20-plus game road losing streak, but they do snap the road losing streak last night. Credit to them. Took advantage of a spot that was dubious for the Coyotes and the over cashes. This is another one that was frustrating, though. The first period over, I was also on that, and it's 1-0 after the first period. Then the goals explode after that. So we get a split in that game, unfortunately. But the full game over hit, so I can't complain too much. Canucks cashed for me 2-1 in overtime against L.A. I know Alex was on the draw, too, with the Canucks and the Kings in that game. That's another game where don't be fooled by the final score. You cannot look at scores and say, oh, it must not have been a very exciting hockey game. That was a very good hockey game, Canucks and Kings. Playoff type of mentality, intensity, very, very tight checking, but very good goaltending as well. And here's another game that had an unbelievable save in it, courtesy of Thatcher Demko. Thatcher with the catcher. As the call was on the save that he made on Trevor Moore in the third period. Absolutely amazing stop to keep it 1-1 at the time. And then the Canucks win it in overtime, delayed penalty call, and JT Miller gets the overtime goal, 2-1. Can we calm down now about Vancouver? Can we stop the nonsense about frauds and all this? I mean, I've heard that about Vancouver. Like, they went through a little rough patch. The schedule was bad. Tough, lots of road games, lots of games in a compressed period of time. They kind of lost their way as far as structure defensively. But boy, they made up for it last night. And the last 2 games against Anaheim and LA, they've gotten back to playing really good, compact team defense, which has really helped the Canucks. And 2 wins to start this road trip over the LA Kings and over the Anaheim Ducks here in this one. All right, next up, we've got Dallas San Jose, and this was just batshit crazy, this game. It was 2-0 San Jose, and I said at that moment, because we knew we hit the first period over with it when it got to 2-0 San Jose, I said, it's not exactly the way Matt Robinson envisioned or wanted that first period over to hit, with San Jose up 2-0, but still against his Stars, but still we cashed that. But sure enough, I was also on Dallas team total over 1.5, plus 188 in the first period. And the Dallas Stars, rose from the dead with that. 2 goals in the last 2-3 minutes of the first period to tie it 2-2. They fell behind again in the second period, and they ended up falling behind 6-3 to the San Jose Sharks. And you know what's funny is people are going to think Jake Ottinger was terrible. I don't think he was great, but a lot of those goals he had no chance on. It was just the puck was bouncing in favorable spots for San Jose, and they capitalized on it. But then, of course, you have Kaapo Kakkonen, or Kaapo Kaka, as I call him right now, in the net. No lead is safe. And what a comeback by Dallas. 6-3 all the way to 6-6. And then they win it in overtime with a Roope Hintz overtime goal. 7-6 comeback win for the Stars in that game. And what a night for these two kids, man. Wyatt Johnston and Logan Stankoven. Logan Stankoven, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. And it's not just his offense. This guy is hounding pucks. This guy is taking the puck away defensively. He's just someone that is just in your face all the time. He is, he's taking the puck away defensively. His play away from the puck has been great. His effort away from the puck has been great. And then Wyatt Johnston continues to play well, both ends of the, and these two have incredible chemistry already since they have been playing together for this Stars team. I made the argument that right now, those two kids, Johnston and Logan Stankoven, in just the mere few games we've seen them play, they're already playing better than, Duchesne and Sagan and Jason Robertson and guys like that lately for the Dallas Stars. It's incredible. And if that's what they're going to get from those two guys, for the next few years, it's going to be some exciting stuff here for Dallas Stars fans. Alex, a great Tuesday, lots of great games, lots of action. What are your thoughts on what we saw?
Yeah, there wasn't a boring game at all last night throughout the entire league. Every game, like I said, regardless of what the final score looked like, or we saw good hockey throughout. Even the clunker of the night being Arizona-Chicago ended up being a good game. Arvid Soderblom had a wonderful start, arguably the best start of his season, if not his career. First win against a team that's not named the Toronto Maple Leafs this season. 4 power play goals for the Hawks. That's always a great thing to see. I don't know if that will last too much longer. And I would have a big circle like I do on my calendar for Sunday night when those two teams meet up over on the west side of Chicago. Looking at some of the earlier games, the Edmonton-Boston game, like I said, just absolutely fantastic. That's true playoff feel hockey, right? There were tons of chances left and right, but it was great goaltending that stood up and held strong. And game goes to OT, and it's Leon Draisaitl again. And somebody mentioned that in the chat yesterday that when Draisaitl has a cold game or somebody else kind of steps up, where we saw Hyman have the big game, we saw McDavid kind of getting in with the extra assists, that's when Draisaitl just kind of pops up, and all of a sudden he's scoring 2 goals, having 3 points. So that's something we need to make a note of. When he goes quiet, you can go right back to him a game or two later to get a goal and maybe even look for some over 1.5 point props with him. So something to kind of add there. Vancouver, LA, that's just another tough loss for the Kings. I mean, you good on you for getting the point. You need that. But, just another deflating loss. You look at the body language every time the Kings give up a goal, whether it's in regulation, whether it's overtime, but they just look just beaten at times when they do give up a goal. It seems like they're fighting against a force that's not just the opponents they're playing against when they get down in the dumps. And that's not a good form to have. It's not a good thing to see when we're talking about 7-8 weeks, 6-7 weeks away from the start of the playoffs. So something they're going to have to address and kind of get back into their form, get back into their heads a little bit. Pittsburgh beating Columbus, that's a game they're supposed to win. But like I said, Columbus was the better spot. Just didn't cash in with that. You have the over cash in that game as well. And, it'll be interesting to see now what moves they make now that we've seen all these other trades go down. Like I said, Gensel, it's a matter of where and when and how because we'll talk about it a little bit. There's a lot of teams that are being involved as that third team in for salary reasons, draft pick reasons. Sure, that's going to have to probably take place if anything involving Gensel, because they weren't going to want draft picks back in that deal. And then Dallas San Jose, just an absolute nutty game. Somebody in one of my DM chats said this game was drunk. And I think that's the best way to prove it. I mean,
It was.
How Dallas is just find ways to struggle against San Jose. They're just teams that we talk about it all the time. They're just teams that give.
They always give Dallas a tough game. Always,
right.
It's crazy.
No matter how good or bad they are, it's just one of those situations, one of those spots. And so another OT matchup with the Stars and Sharks. Dallas gets the win 7-6. And he said Wyatt Johnson. Any point props you have with him, everything pretty much cashed home. And so, it's still disappointing though. If you're a Stars fan, you can't be happy with what you're seeing right now. Yes, you got the 2 points. You've gotten, 2 points in the last 2 games, but this is just not a team that you feel comfortable relying on. I can't trust Jake Oettinger in a 7-game series from what I'm seeing right now. This is not the Jake Oettinger, like somebody said, from 2 years ago in the Calgary series. This is a different team. This is a different feel, and I don't have the comfortability backing this team even like I did last year at this time when they were heading to the playoffs. So, where they fall into the seeding, and that's going to be the biggest thing, too, moving forward, too. We're always talking about teams getting into the playoffs, but where you're seeded is going to be huge, especially in the Central, because keep in mind, you look across that Pacific Division, there's a Vegas Golden Knights team that's still very dangerous once you get into the postseason that could fall right into your quadrant if they end up being a wild card team. So having that home ice, winning the division, those two spots are going to be very crucial because you don't want to be on the road if you're a team like Colorado. We've seen the struggles they've had on the road. And if you're a team like Dallas, you might want to hope and pray that you avoid a team like Vegas, because Vegas is definitely one of those teams that I think would have kind of Dallas's number in a 7-game series.
Yeah, they got to shore up defensively. And it wasn't the greatest night for Tanev first night. It's a new team. You got to give him time to get comfortable. I get it. Who was a bad night for? I mean, and Peter DeBoer is going to have to think about getting rid of this defensive pair. Hakanpää and Suter together, that's no good. That's not going to work. Sorry. That was atrocious, those two guys last night. It was abysmal from both of them, and they are awful as a pair together. That cannot stand. That cannot stay as it is. If DeBoer's got to make some changes there.
Dallas's best option on the blue line is to have a business Suter, meaning you put Suter in a business suit, put him in the press box and scratch him, because he's your weakest link on the defense. Now you have Tanev, shape everything out, but he's got to be your odd man out.
100%. Yeah, you got to do something there. And you're right, Hakanpää. Look, he might find himself on his way, to a healthy scratch. Department come playoff time. His play hasn't been good lately for the Dallas Stars. So you got Nils, and as Matt says, Nils Lundqvist is waiting there. Nils Lundqvist, you have the high hopes for this kid. He can't get in the lineup. Maybe you should get in the lineup. Maybe you should give him a chance and give him a look now.
And that's the thing. Maybe Dallas has another trade. Everybody's talking about that. We see everybody making one trade. We're not just standing still in one trade. There could be other things in the works now. So maybe that's something else. Maybe they try to bundle up a couple of guys to move and try to get another defenseman there, or get some other kind of depth help that they need. But like I said, there's still another 36 hours left as far as that goes.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's get into the trades. We've got a bunch of them. It started with Vladimir Tarasenko to the Florida Panthers. As if this team needed another forward to what they already have. Look, it's just, and I was saying this to Alex before the show, it's like you've already got that great car. It's got the great engine. It's got the all RPMs, all that great stuff. It's got the sound. It's got the look. It's got the wonderful, look, exterior, you name it, interior. It's sleek. It's a great design. And then you add the hydraulics to it. You don't need the hydraulics, but you added them anyway. That's basically what the Panthers did with Vladimir Tarasenko here with the Florida Panthers. You've already got this great-looking Stanley Cup contender, and you've just added it even more. And what he does give them is a little bit more finish, a little bit more skill, because a lot of Florida's forwards are that tenacious type. A lot of their goal scoring is, old-fashioned roll up the sleeves and just outwork the other team, out-hustle the other team, go to the greasy areas, the tough areas of the ice to score those tough goals, like the blue paint, the crease area. That's what Florida does. Use their physicality and their hard, tenacious forechecking style to win puck battles, to cycle the puck in the offensive zone. They could use just a little extra dash of skill and finish and finesse, and that's where Vladimir Tarasenko comes in and fits in perfectly for this Florida Panthers team as to what they already have up front. And they are still kicking tires on a defenseman. Noah Hannafin's in the mix. Both Florida teams are in the mix for Noah Hannafin, along with the Boston Bruins, of course. And could you imagine? They already have three, I would say, outstanding defensemen in Forsling. Forsling's got, you have to consider him outstanding now. That's the kind of year he's had. He's been great. He has become an upper tier defenseman. And of course, it goes without saying, Ekblad and Montour. So you add all of a sudden, if they were to add a Hanifin, man, that would be incredible. But this is just a Florida team that knows, hey, we know we are going to be the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. Let's not squander this opportunity. If we can make our team better and not have to give up a ton, we're going to do it. And the Florida Panthers, Alex, they did it earlier today.
Yeah, it's a wonderful trade. And like I said, Bill Zito's playing chess. Do you need an extra offensive forward? Absolutely not. But you just kept everybody else in the East from getting him. You just kept everybody else in the West who could use him from getting him. And that's a smart move. You have added depth, and that's the thing. If you're a team that doesn't have any glaring holes, and that's where Florida is right now, you add extra depth in case you have an issue. We know guys get banged up, guys get injured. So if you have that guy that you can slide into a spot and you have more depth and flexibility amongst your top four lines, good on you. So that's what top teams are supposed to be doing right now. We talk so much about the middle teams and the teams who are struggling, trying to get there, fighting and clawing, and what piece can they add to get there. Really, if you're waiting 24 hours, 48 hours to add one or two more pieces to get you into the playoffs, you weren't really that qualified for a playoff team to begin with, in my opinion. So in saying that, I like looking at some of these top-tier teams that make these big moves because I think this is going to be more impactful. We're more than likely going to see Vladimir Tarasenko doing something in May as opposed to somebody that, say, Dallas or Nashville grabs right now in the next couple of days. So that being said, we'll talk about some of the other trades. I think, like I said, depth pieces are more important too. Tarasenko doesn't need to be a top 6 guy right now with Florida, so there's pressure off of him. And I always talk about that. When you add guys who can play top roles, be it defenseman or forward, the fact that they don't have to, especially when you got a team that's got great chemistry right now in Florida, you're not trying to rock the apple cart too hard in Sunrise. With the way things are going right now, just slot him in, find him some space. Maybe he's a fourth liner. Maybe you now have 4 lines that can give you true scoring depth and talent. Or maybe he can adapt and change his game. This is a guy who also has playoff experience, which is invaluable. Yes, Florida went all the way to the Cup final last year, but that was really a lot of those guys' first real run in a deep playoff run. Having another guy and another voice who's been there before, that helps out in a big way, especially if you're trying to get right back to that same spot. So I think this is a wonderful trade for Florida. It's A+ move for Zito.
A little more skill and finish. You're right. Fits in well. He's not going to upset the apple cart. This isn't the Rangers bringing in Kane and Tarasenko. They brought in Kane. They brought in Tarasenko. It was just too much. And it was too much to try to fit the chemistry together. This isn't that. This is better.
And you were asking them to go right into a system and a group, a core group that has been they've been close since 2013, 2014 that Kreider's has been in. That group's been around for a minute. That was like it reminded me almost of how the Hawks went and kind of cherry picked pieces in 15, 16, 17, trying to make a run, but it didn't work because they didn't fit in with Kane and Taves and Hossa in that group. When you have those tight nucleus groups like that, LA has a group like that. Pittsburgh, of course, we talk about all the time. You can't just throw somebody in there and all of a sudden, because they have top skill and talent, they're automatically going to be a great top 6 forward. Yeah, that didn't work in New York last year. But Tarasenko doesn't have to be that guy here in Florida. He can kind of just slot wherever he's comfortable, and there's no rush for him to get comfortable in the lineup right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely. And like I said, he's going to fit in well because he's not going to be asked to do too much. He can be one of a great group of forwards that they have. I mean, Tarasenko doesn't have to do too much. I know it wasn't a great playoff for him with the Rangers last year, but he doesn't have to do too much here. He's got Verhaeghe, he's got Bennett, he's got Tkachuk, he's got Reinhart, who's been torching everybody this season. He doesn't have to do a ton. He's just got to be a piece, someone that can chip in, someone that can produce a little bit, and he's probably going to be comfortable there. He wanted to go to Florida. You're getting a guy that's excited to be there because he said to Ottawa, that's kind of the way the place I want to be, the Florida Panthers. So, like I say, I think it's going to be a good situation for him, for the team.
I feel like he'll be a guy who we might only see his stat sheet look like he has 4 goals and 3 assists, but all 7 of those points are going to be crucial points, possibly game-winning points for that team.
Yeah, so that's it. Like I say, I think it's you didn't need him. There is some truth to that. Maybe they didn't need him, but man, it makes them better. It just gives them more depth. What if you have injuries come playoff time and start to suffer some attrition? And that's
why let him possibly go to Boston? Yeah. Why let him possibly end up with Tampa? Why let him go somewhere else where he can hurt you? You take him off of everybody else's plate now.
Yeah, no doubt. Of course, Edmonton makes a deal with Anaheim. Adam Henrique, Sam Carrick off to the Edmonton Oilers from the Anaheim Ducks, who, by the way, are in action tonight. It is worth noting that, and when you look at it, this helps. This is a guy that, he's 34 years old. He's still got offensive upside, in my opinion. This year, he had 38 points last year, 40, but he's not here for his offense. He's here for a little veteran presence. He's here for leadership. He's here to win faceoffs. He's here for crucial center ice depth, which you have to have in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You have to have center ice depth, and he's going to fit in nicely. Someone in the chat made an outstanding comment. He's going to take pressure off the Nuge, okay? Because the Ryan Nugent Hopkins of the world, you can't trust them consistently throughout the playoffs. Adam Henrique's going to help there. He's a great defensive center, 2 ways, both ends of the ice. And more importantly, this guy's got a shit ton of playoff experience. Went to the Stanley Cup final with Peter DeBoer and the New Jersey Devils many, many years ago when they lost to L.A. So from that standpoint, you got a guy that's got Stanley Cup final experience, a guy that plays the center ice position, which is a position that is invaluable in the NHL, gives you more depth there, wins faceoffs, can chip in offensively, but he's not here for that. You got enough offense. If he can chip in offense, great. But there's other things where he's going to really, really benefit from being on this Edmonton Oilers team. And Sam Carrick, he's a sneaky, under-the-radar depth defenseman. He's a guy that throws his weight around, not scared to drop the gloves, gives them a little more tenacity on the back end for the Edmonton Oilers. So there's another trade that, I give him a thumbs up to. I don't see any problem with it. You got more depth on the blue line, which you need, more depth at center, which you need. So I don't mind it for Edmonton. What do you think there, Alex, with Henrique and Carrick to the Oilers?
No, that's another great move. Like I said, adding some extra depth and shoring up a bit of a weak spot for your team in Edmonton. So adding some centers and, like I said, taking pressure off of Nugent Hopkins. That's what it's all about. It's all about balancing and distributing your time and having the most balanced team going into the playoffs. And so Adam Henrique, he gives you grit. He gives you, solid play at center. He gives you a little bit of a scoring touch at times too. He's a wonderful addition to what is a solid team. And this is the Edmonton top 4 that looks as good as we've ever seen it. Throughout the McDavid and Draisaitl era, we talk about, but they got a little weakness here, or they only got, it's only Draisaitl and McDavid scoring. This is a team now where we can say, okay, Edmonton's fucking ready from a forward perspective for the playoffs. Defense could be a little bit questionable. We'll see what we get with the goaltending. We know we got Skinner. We know the up of Skinner and the down of Skinner. But this forward group, I don't think there's any question marks now with this forward group going into the postseason like we've had with previous forward groups with Edmonton. So
Kenny Hall would want that a deep defenseman. There's no question. I'm sure he's going to look between now and Friday because you're right. There's still definitely a need there for some more defense.
So that's the thing. So now you have 36 hours to work on one particular spot. You don't have to fill up all these different things. You got 12 forwards you can roll and go to war with. You got your goaltenders. Now just shore everything up in the blue line, and you're pretty much set.
Yeah, exactly. And goaltending's interesting. Because goaltending is still the little skeleton in the closet here for Edmonton, where Skinner has found it again. Like, this has been a great stretch for Skinner the last, I would say, 4 or 5 games. But before that, he was starting to falter again, and the defense was starting to falter, and the penalty kill stunk. So that's always what it's going to come back to. If you can maybe get a goaltender, fine, but you're not going to pay a ransom for it at this rate. You're not, and you shouldn't.
No.
You should see if you can find someone to help the position, because, look, I'm still not loving the idea of Cal Pickard going in net in a playoff spot series if something happens to Skinner. I'm not totally – I know he's been good for Edmonton, Pickard. Let's give him his credit there. But I'm still not saying I'm ready to say, you know what, if Stuart Skinner, something happens to him in the playoffs, my playoff and season rides on the back of Calvin Pickard, I'm still not totally comfy with that.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I mean, if you can make an upgrade and get a better backup goaltender, by all means, Edmonton needs to definitely do it. But it's not the biggest worry in the world. Because here's the thing: you look at the names that are floating around as far as goaltending. Obviously, throw Markstrom out. Markstrom's not going to be going to Edmonton. But I'm seeing Kakkonen. I'm seeing Lankinen. I'm seeing a bunch of guys that aren't really upgrades over Calvin Pickard. So, you might as well – there's no reason to try to make a lateral move is what I'm saying with that goaltender. Pickard's been fine right now. If you have to roll with him, that's just the hand you're dealt. But there's no reason to make a lateral. Kevin Lankinen is not going to be the answer. He's younger. He has higher upside. But I don't think he's an upgrade over Pickard to the point where you make that deal and have him play 5 or 6 games to give Skinner a rest heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. And for all the concerns I have with Pickard, as Po Buddies Nerfic says, and someone else, Vegas won a cup with Aiden Hill. Niemi and Corey Crawford. Well, Corey Crawford let's give Corey Crawford a little more credit. Corey Crawford had some pretty good years here.
Wait, I was just about to respond.
Niemi, you can criticize, yeah.
One, Antti Niemi actually before that season was one of the hottest goalies in like pretty much like they showed all his rankings. He had better numbers than some NHL guys for that year. Then he goes in with the Hawks, plays magnificent as a backup, and was the hot guy. He was the right guy to roll at the time. And that's the thing with goaltending. You just need a hot one. But Corey Crawford was definitely way more stable in his runs with the Hawks at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the most recent trade, and then we'll get to the Wednesday games. The Buffalo and Colorado, a bit of a surprise. I mean, especially what was going one way and what was going the other way between the Buffalo Sabres and the Colorado Avalanche. And I honestly love this from a Sabres standpoint because Bowen, they need defensemen and they could use another one. And Bowen Byram is, I'm a big fan of him. And I'm actually a little bit perplexed that the Avs traded him. But the Avs are in a position of strength. They just got Sean Walker as well from Philadelphia. And I think what they sense in Walker is they get a little more size. They get a little bit more defensive prowess with Walker. Not that Byram's a bad defender in his own zone, but I think his strength is his skating ability, his stride, and his ability basically to, lug the puck, jump into the play, have those offensive instincts from the back end. And they've got a lot of those guys already, the Colorado Avalanche with Cale Makar and Devon Taves and, the multiple defensemen that can play that role for them offensively. They wanted to get someone that's a little bit tidier in his own zone, and Sean Walker is that, getting him from Philadelphia. And I think that's what kind of made it more appealing or expendable, if you will, for Joe Sakic to trade away Bowen Byram. So he goes to Buffalo. They get Casey Middlestat. Casey Middlestat's a bit of an enigma to me. He can be a very good player, 2 ways, center, and that's always, and it's a position of value come Stanley Cup playoff time, but a little inconsistent, had some injuries as well that he's had to deal with, and his offense just hasn't always been there consistently for Buffalo. Can it be there in Colorado? He's certainly got a lot around him now with the Colorado Avalanche, so it's a nice situation to skate into, if you will, for Casey Middlestat here with the Colorado Avalanche. And just like with Tarasenko, he can just fit in. He's going to help, make this center ice position even deeper, even stronger for the Colorado Avalanche. And back on the Buffalo side of things, you get Bowen Byram, who is a very good young defenseman. There's still so much high ceiling and upside for him. And I'm looking forward to how he continues to develop in Buffalo in the foreseeable future. So this trade, I think, time will tell how it goes, but there's a possibility this works out for both teams. What did you think there, Buffalo, Colorado, with that one, Alex?
Yeah, like I said, balanced trade. It's one of those you got to give up something to get something kind of thing. So, Bowen Byram, that's a piece you don't really want to give up, but should certainly fit well in Buffalo long term. Of course, they got other issues they have to address, goaltending. Colorado, getting Middlestat, and like I said, it's one of those things where this is an offense you could put a broomstick right there and it'll get at least a few goals. So Middlestat having some solid talent, some hands should certainly improve and increase the offensive production there with that. And it also kind of leads into the other trade with Sean Walker coming in, which that's a deal that I really like. I think that grit and toughness, you need that. The West is lacking that. I've seen a lot of people in the chat say this over the few days, and I've noticed this too. The West is soft. There's a lot of softness in these Western teams that are going to be making the playoffs. And you got to add that grit and balance. And if it doesn't kick in innately, which it will for some of these teams and some of these players, we see them take that step up and can be a little bit more physical. Colorado is one of those teams that can be more physical. But having a guy who that's part of his natural game, that's important. So I think both those moves were big for the Colorado Avalanche.
Matt's got a good point about Middlestad. He's not a great face-off guy. He's been sub 50% in the face-off circle his entire career in Buffalo. And this year he's 46%. He's won 327 face-offs. He's lost 381 face-offs, according to Natural Stat Trick. So, like I say, that and for a center ice position and a center in this league to have a sub 50% save percentage is not ideal. It's not what you want, but look, there's other things he does well, but you're right. He's got to continue to work on the face. Maybe at this point, though, we're talking about a guy that's now been in the National Hockey League for 7 seasons, and he's never once gotten a 50% or higher face-off percentage. So maybe it's never going to happen for him. Can the Colorado coaching staff work with him to improve it? Yes, of course. I'm sure they will. Will he is the question, though, improve it?
Well, and that's the thing. We talk about this too with trades. Change of scenery. This is Casey Middlestad's first time being moved. So maybe that change of scenery and being around a team that this is a top-notch organization, right? And we know we hear the stories about Nathan McKinnon. He's a no nonsense, no bullshit kind of guy. He'll go in there and work with him. I'm sure they have plenty of people who will go in there and work with him on that aspect of his game. But like you said, this is a team that's loaded well enough to where, okay, fine, he's not winning faceoffs. You slot him in the third spot, or maybe you make him a wing in certain things. He's flexible. He's got enough talent to where, okay, fine, he's not winning faceoffs, to put him on the wing. And you mix and match. But he gives you some more depth and flexibility, even if he has that one weakness in his game. Everything else stands out where he's still solid enough to chip in and produce.
That's true, John. Yeah, he's not going to be up. If he's in the face-off dot in Colorado, he's not always going to be up against the top face-off guy of the other team. You're not going to be facing a Sidney Crosby on the other side in the face-off circle every shift now, whenever there's a face-off when you're on the ice. So there is some truth to that, and it's maybe going to open the door and the possibility for him to improve his face-off percentage here in Colorado, just based on where he is in the lineup. So those are the trades that have gone down in the last few hours. I'm trying to see if there's anything that's happened here in the.
I haven't seen anything since we've been.
I haven't seen anything in the last few 30 minutes since we started talking, but it doesn't look like it. But I'm sure there'll be plenty more on the way between now and Friday's trade deadline. All right, we've got 3 games tonight in the NHL. Let's get to them, and we will begin with the Buffalo Sabres taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. We've got Toronto here minus 190. Home favorites here in this game, and the total 6.5 across the board. Look, we know Toronto lost to Boston at home. It is a bounce back spot for the Leafs, but they play this is the front end of a back-to-back for them. They are home to Buffalo tonight, and then they will be in Boston tomorrow night, where that will be a rematch for the Toronto Maple Leafs of a game against the Bruins where they lost at home to the Bruins on Monday night. And then you got this little spot in between against a Buffalo team that all they do is always raise their level of play and raise their game whenever they play you. They always want to put it's almost like this is a Stanley Cup final of sorts. Every single time the Buffalo Sabres play the Toronto Maple Leafs head-to-head. So will this team, Buffalo that is, cause Toronto more grief tonight? They're already 2-0 this season against the Toronto Maple Leafs head-to-head. And not just 2-0, 2 pastings over the Toronto Maple Leafs in these two. Well, I shouldn't say the first one was a pasting in Toronto. It was 6-4 Buffalo, but I think they led most of that game, the Buffalo Sabres, start to finish. 6-4 over Toronto, and then the real pasting was December, where Buffalo, as a home underdog, plus 130, 9-3 over the Toronto Maple Leafs in that game. It was a horrible night for the team. That was when Ilya Samsonov was in that period of the season where he could not stop a fucking beach ball. And he was going through the mental struggles and the confidence issues, and Buffalo obviously took advantage of it that night, 9-3 over the Toronto Maple Leafs in that game. We'll see now if Toronto can turn the tables. I mean, this has been stunningly how impressive Buffalo's been against Toronto. How about 7-3 for the Buffalo Sabres in the last 10 meetings versus the Toronto Maple Leafs going into this matchup here tonight? The Leafs, off a loss, I think they're going to be, then they know Buffalo's had their number. You don't have to tell Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Nylander, any of these guys that. They know it. Can they do something about it? Very interesting spot here because this is Ilya Samsonov in net tonight for the Leafs. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, picked a pack of pickled peppers in net for the Buffalo Sabres here tonight in this game for Buffalo. Of course, the Byram trade just went down, so obviously Middlestad's out of there. You got a Thompson, Cousins, Krebs, Olofsson center ice position tonight for the Buffalo Sabres going into this game. And the blue line tonight will have Dahlin, Yoki Haru, Power, Clifton, Ryan Johnson, and Jacob Bryson. Of course, Eric Johnson's out. Matthias Samuelsson, of course, on long-term IR for the Buffalo Sabres. It's one of those things where if I'm looking at this game from a betting perspective, I'm going to tell Toronto, show me you can beat this team before I'm willing to trust you and before I'm willing to back you. So for me, I'm going to take the dog and draw split here in this game. Buffalo plus 160, Buffalo, Toronto draw as well. They haven't seen a lot of overtime games with these two teams head to head, but the Sabres have gone past regulation 2 of their last 5 games. We know Toronto's played a lot of close hockey all season, and it wouldn't surprise me to see maybe this game go past regulation. And I'm going to jump in on this over trifecta. I mean, the overs here, it's hard to ignore it. Not only with what we've seen, just recently, Toronto has played some overs. Buffalo, even the last couple of games have gone over the total. The Winnipeg game, the Vegas game that they played over the weekend. But head-to-head, it's ridiculous how many games have gone over the total. We have seen routinely 7+ goals between these two teams. We've seen 7+ goals between these two teams in 9 of the last 10 games that have seen at least 7 goals scored between the Buffalo Sabres and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's the way we're going to approach it here. We're going to do Buffalo and draw split. We're going to do first period over, first period both teams to score, and full game over 6.5. The one concern I would have about the overs, and it's the thing that there's always something you worry about. There's something you worry about with every bet. There's always something where you like a certain angle in a game and you like a certain bet, but there's always something you're like, well, what if this happens and the bet doesn't cash? For me in this game, the thing is Ilya Samsonov tonight playing great because he knows he was in that game for that 9-3 beatdown that Buffalo put on Toronto earlier this season. That was Samsonov in net that night. He got pulled. He was atrocious. He was going through these huge struggles. Does he bring one hell of an effort tonight? And he has been in good form, of course, the last few weeks for Toronto during this great run they've been on since the All-Star break. So I would be concerned that Samsonov puts up a wall tonight, maybe, against this Buffalo team with this form and knowing, he was in net for that 9-goal shellacking that Buffalo laid on Toronto back in December. But I still can't deny what we're seeing. We're seeing two teams that have had the ability to score. We've teams that go in and out defensively. And more importantly, when they meet up head to head, it's been goals galore repeatedly between the Buffalo Sabres and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So still sticking with the overs here in this game, despite those concerns. Alex, what do you think here as your lights are, looks like, acting up on you here? Buffalo and Toronto.
It's like the old school Ice Guys from way back in the day when I didn't have any lighting. So, yeah, I like this game to go to the draw, but this is not my favorite draw play. It's just strictly off of system. Buffalo has played Toronto tough. This is a game where Toronto should really honestly win this game and blow the doors off of Buffalo. But this is one of those spots, right? Middle of the week, team you're supposed to dominate, rivalry, and Toronto always lets these teams they play down to the competition. So I have to grab the draw plus 390 is just way too high of a price to pass up on that. But I do like some looks early in this game. I like the first period over 1.5. I laid $1.40. I also like both teams to score plus 158 in this spot. I think we see some back and forth pace. Like I said, Buffalo, they're going to give their full energy early in the contest. They know how to play Toronto. They know how to play in Toronto. Take that crowd out of it, and the crowd's not hyped up much anyway. So all you need to go early, and you can get that place. We can hear a mouse piss on cotton, essentially. So Toronto's got to, of course, fight back and battle back. We know how this team can play when they are down a goal or two. They certainly will amp up the offense and get things rolling. So I like goals early, first period, both teams to score, and first period over. But I also have the draw plus 390.
Yeah, all good looks. As far as this, the props go, I like what Terry is saying in the chat about Jordan Greenway. I know he's not a bona fide gifted goal scorer, but you're going to get him on the top line for the Buffalo Sabres tonight with Alex Tuck, with Tage Thompson. That is a good, positive expectation, value-laden goal prop bet waiting to happen there with Greenway. You just hope he can pay it off and score tonight. But plus 400, at Patano, it's for some spots, you like a price like that with someone playing on the top line. It's worth a look. It's the situations we talk about constantly on this show all season long. Players that are playing on the top line, on the second line, are getting power play time on the ice, and it's not reflected properly in their goal scorer price. And that is what you're seeing kind of right now with this Buffalo Sabres team and Jordan Greenway tonight on that line. But, you look at the other part, Jeff Skinner, the other Skinner, Jeff, he's been starting to percolate lately for Buffalo. You could look in his direction as far as props go. We've talked about J.J. Peterka all season, scored against Winnipeg, and that actually broke a long drought. And sometimes when a player breaks a long drought, the goals follow him not long after that. So would not surprise me to see maybe J.J. Peterka find the back of the net a little bit here for this Buffalo Sabres team. I like Dylan Cousins as well. He's starting to heat up for them. Got a couple of goals a few games ago. He'd be worth a look. And then on the Toronto side, we're going back to Bertuzzi. Easily could have scored against Boston. He had some chances there. We know he's been obviously heating up, playing better of late. No question about that. Still worth a look, in my opinion, there as far as a goal prop for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Looks like the rest of their lineup remains, fairly unchanged. We're going to see still Bertuzzi, Domi, Nylander, McMahon, Tavares, and Calle Yarncroke, Gregor, Holmberg, and Reeves on the fourth line, it looks like, for the Toronto Maple Leafs here tonight in this matchup between the Sabres and the Leafs. All right, next up, second game on this Wednesday slate, Detroit Red Wings, Colorado Avalanche. Yep, Alex and I are old, and how do we know that we're old, and why are we old? Because we remember when this rivalry was one of the best rivalries in the NHL in the late 90s, Detroit Red Wings, Colorado Avalanche, and now not so much to the younger generation, and that's one of the sad parts about the NHL these days. Those old rivalries, not what they used to be, but still should be an entertaining game. Colorado minus 195, home favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game. You look at the matchup here. Detroit, has played some really good hockey for the most part the last month or two, but they're off 2 consecutive losses to the New York Islanders and the Florida Panthers on home ice. So a little bit of a stumbling block, if you will, for the Red Wings. Giving up 9-3, by the way, the cumulative score of those 2 losses to the Islanders and the Panthers. We'll see if they can bounce back here. Colorado off that mini 2-game road trip, and they were also off the 5-1 loss to Nashville. It felt like a good spot to look at Colorado in some form against Chicago, and sure enough, they ended up winning that game 5-0, shutting out the Chicago Blackhawks the other night in that game. This is a fascinating one to examine because last time these teams played, and we saw a very tight checking, lower scoring game. The goaltending was pretty good. It was a 2-1 Red Wings victory over the Avalanche in overtime at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. And it was a game where obviously we saw Justus Ananen, the goaltender for Colorado, play one of his better games. And that's really when his, uptick in net started, was that game against Detroit, the way he played. 28 saves on 30 shots, only gave up the 2 goals. It was an overtime loss for him, but he played well enough to win. And Alex Lyon was very solid as well, 30 saves on 31 Colorado shots for the victory in that game. We'll see how this one goes tonight with the Avs and the Red Wings. The Avs had dominated the Red Wings prior to losing to them in overtime on February 22nd in Detroit. They had won 9 straight. Even after that loss to Detroit just a few weeks ago, they're still 9-1 in the last 10 meetings. Alex Lyon and Alexander Georgiev is confirmed to be the starting goaltending matchup here. Dylan Larkin, the captain, top-line center, out for Detroit as well, missing at least the next 2 weeks with a lower body injury, and obviously a guy that's going to be missed, no question about that. And on the Colorado side, look, they do have some injuries of their own. Obviously, they're awaiting Big Val Nichushkin's return, but Logan O'Connor's now on the injured list. Josh Manson right now, day-to-day as well. He didn't play against Chicago with a lower body injury. And there's a question mark about his status for tonight as well for Colorado. So there could be a little bit of a shakeup with the lineup, especially on the blue line here tonight for them. We'll see. And Sean Walker's on the depth chart already, but I don't think he's going to play tonight, obviously. So they won't be there in time. But definitely going to be interesting to see how that blue line looks. They might actually go with 5 defensemen tonight and carry an extra forward. I could see Colorado doing that. It's potential here tonight with just the trade that went down involving them. Colorado, it is a revenge spot for them. We know they've been better at home. I could see them actually having a good game tonight. I think the loss of Larkin, it is significant. There's going to be some change on the top line, and it looks like for the Detroit Red Wings, Newsy Lalonde is going to put Joe Veleno on that top line tonight with Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat. So Veleno between Kane and the Cat here for the Detroit Red Wings tonight in this game from the looks of things in the absence of Dylan Larkin, which means we got to take Joe Veleno tonight. We do. Goal prop for him is upwards of plus 550 at FanDuel tonight in this game. So you're going to give me, again, a top-line center playing with Kane and DeBrincat, 2 outstanding players, and you're going to give me plus 550 on Joe Veleno to score a goal tonight. You can't pass it up. Now, I'm pissed off because there's no assist props. There's no point props for Joe Veleno anywhere. Come on here. He's on the top line. He's centering tonight. Let's go. Give me some assist props. Give me some point props. FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, all you guys, let's hustle up and get this done here. Let's go. It's a top line center. How is there not assist props and point props for this guy out there? So right now I only see goal props, so we'll have to settle for that for now. But if you see any assist props or goal or point props, I would definitely add those to the mix as well for this game as far as player props go. Rasmussen, Comfer against his old team, I'm interested in as well. The former player angle against his old team, former Avalanche player, now with the Red Wings centering the second line. Comfort has goals, assists, and points props available. Plus 340, BetMGM, plus 160 assist. Minus 110 to get a point. If you're feeling frisky, you can go over 1.5 points for Comfort at like plus 450, plus 500. Get a really good price with that. But that's a prop that makes sense to me as well in this game for the Red Wings. And then on the Colorado side, it's mostly the players that I've talked about a lot. Maybe a little Drouin as he got going last game, but especially Arturi Lehkonen worth a look right now. He continues to produce nightly for the Avalanche, playing with Renton and McKinnon. And how about the old man? Are we sleeping on Zach Parise right now? Zach Parise has 4 points and 3 goals in the last 3 games for the Colorado Avalanche. He's found the fountain of youth here, and it's not shocking. He's got revitalized. He's on a team that's got a chance to win and do big things. So maybe we look at a Zach Parise look here tonight for the Colorado Avalanche with what we've seen from him recently. I know there's some love in the chat for the under. I can't do it with a game in Colorado. I'm not in love with this over, but I'm looking at, Alex, at the last 4 head-to-head meetings, Detroit and Colorado and Denver. 4-0 to the over, and Colorado in particular has scored 6, 7, 6, and 4 goals in all 4 of those home games against the Detroit Red Wings. So I'm definitely on Colorado team total over 3.5 tonight. I do like that. Revenge spot for losing in Detroit a couple weeks ago. I still lean full game over because we've seen 4 straight overs between these 2 teams here at Ball Arena. So I know it was 2-1, and I get it the last meeting, but that's a strong track record. Colorado kind of, they shut the door on Chicago. It's going to be tougher to do that against Detroit. So, like I say, I'm going to be on the over 6.5 as well, but it's not as strong for me as the team total. I think the team total is a good look. Colorado scored 4+ 4 straight times hosting the Detroit Red Wings, and of course we saw them score 5 against Chicago. We've seen this team light it up more on home ice this year, so that does make sense to me, and I'm looking at the team total, which I prefer of the 2. What do you think here, Alex? Detroit, Colorado.
Yeah, this game's actually a pass for me because I'm torn on that total. Like you said, the history says over. But when you look at, especially, Larkin out for the Red Wings, you got the Avalanche having these trades now, having to make a little bit of lineup changes. We always talk about, and that's something we have to kind of really watch for in not just the next 48 hours, but really the next 5-6 days. Remember, all these movements, all these different things, it takes time for these players to gel, and we're not going to see anybody just zoom right in and have a couple of goals. I don't think we're going to have that out of any of these picks that we're seeing moved around, players moved around the next couple of days. So adjust accordingly with your player props, adjust accordingly with your game looks. I actually kind of like the under here in this spot with a 6.5. So I might maybe look for something, hope for a goal early and try to grab a even bigger number in game. That's kind of the way I'm going to be attacking and adjusting this. Colorado has dominated Detroit, and the fact that Detroit just got off of the win, a little rapid revenge spot. I can't run and grab plus money with Detroit. Certainly not trying to lay a number with the Avalanche. And I'm also worried. I want to see too Georgiev the rest of the way down the stretch. This guy's been, playing a lot of games, a lot of miles on him, a lot of minutes on him. And I think he's susceptible for at least one or two more blowout kind of a nights. I think we're going to see a couple of bad starts from him at some point between now and the end of the regular season because he's just played so much hockey already at this point. So I'm a lot of trepidation looking at the Avalanche in any form, even with that team total over. So it's a wait and see game for me in game.
All right. Nothing wrong with that. And like I said, we've got over 3.5 is -124 at Pinnacle for that Colorado team total. I think, and like I said before Alex mentioned his thoughts on the game, I do prefer that than the full game over tonight. I think Colorado can get 4. They did lose to Detroit recently. A little payback. No Larkin for Detroit, who matters at both ends of the ice, by the way, not just offensively, but defensively as well. So, like I say, Colorado, I think asking them to get 4 goals at home, often they can do it. And look, Detroit's given up, 4 goals plus in each of their last 2 games. Panthers put 4 on the board. Islanders put 5 on the board against them. And even Alex Lyon, we're concerned about him a little bit more now lately. He's played a shit ton of hockey.
That's true.
Don't forget about that. I know he's had a pretty good season overall, but he's played a lot of hockey. And we talk about the wear and tear and the mileage piling up on the bodies and all the games that you have to play when you're not used to playing these. When's Alex Lyon had to play 50, 60 games in a season before? So again, this is new territory for Alex Lyon. We got to watch out for these signs of fatigue and decline with some of these goalies that aren't used to the workload.
Well, I mean, he's not used to that kind of workload here in the NHL. But he has had some extended
in
time
the American
in the minors where you look at a Georgiev where he just kind of really came up. He didn't really have a super long time as an AHL veteran. This is really the most we've seen him play in his career. So that's the thing we taught, and that goes into a whole deeper diatribe I can go into about goaltenders getting looks in the AHL. But that is something I look at when I start talking about and this is a point to make because you'll hear me say that often about, well, a goalie who's had a lot of minutes on him, in the last 15, 20 games of the season. But that's predicated on the fact of, okay, are they a veteran? Are they someone who's had injury issues? Are they somebody who, yes, they don't have that experience here in the NHL, but do they have it in the AHL? Do they have it in Europe? So I do look for those things. So if I had to kind of lean with the two, I would be less worried about Lyon tiring out than I would Georgiev.
Yeah, that's a fair argument to make. No question. By the way, these first 2 games are both TNT tonight, okay? NHL on TNT, Wednesday night doubleheader. Buffalo-Toronto is the first game. I believe that's the Kenny Albert Edzo game. I think that's the one they're doing. And then, of course, we've got Colorado and Detroit after that. The second game of the TNT doubleheader. So, and like I say, I'm always excited for the TNT broadcast. I love their studio component. It's just like the NBA. It's just so entertaining. It's just, they just let it rip, let it fly off the cuff. It's great stuff, no doubt. And they've mastered that. Turner Sports has mastered how to do a proper studio show with both of their properties. NBA, of course, the NBA has set the standard. And now the NHL one's pretty damn good, too. All right, next up, we've got Ottawa and Anaheim playing for exercise, these 2 teams. Final game of this Wednesday slate. Ottawa up to -190 road favorites right now, 6.5 the total. Now, this is definitely a game where I like over trifecta, and I already bet the over trifecta. Over 1.5, both teams to score first period over 6.5. But we've got trades galore. Tarasenko's gone from Ottawa to Florida. He's out. They just traded Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick Anaheim to Edmonton. They're out. So all kinds of change and all kinds of machinations, if you will, with the lineup here tonight for the Ducks and for the Senators. As it stands right now, and keep in mind, this team's really banged the fuck up right now, too. And that's another reason the money's come in here on Ottawa, although Ottawa's in horrible garbage form right now. We just saw them lose to Arizona, Washington, Nashville last week. Awful, terrible hockey they're playing right now, and Philadelphia over the weekend. But look at who's out for Anaheim. Mason McTavish out. Troy Terry out. Leo Carlson, the rookie, out. Trevor Zegras still on IR. They just traded Adam Henrique. I mean, they're going to be really, really switched up here with the forward group tonight, the Anaheim Ducks, for this game. You got Frank Vetrano, Ryan Strome, and Alex Killorn, currently slated as the top line. Max Jones, Isaac Lundestrom is going to be 2C tonight, second line center with Jakob Silverberg. So, my goodness, you're talking about guys that have played most of the season down in the bottom six, elevated to the top six tonight for the Anaheim Ducks because of everyone that's out of the lineup. Pavel Regenda, Benoit Olivier Groux, Brett Leeson on the third line, and we rounded up with Ross Johnston, Glenn Godden, and a guy that's actually a defenseman that I think they're going to transition and flip him to play fourth line forward tonight on the right wing, Jackson Lacombe for Anaheim. So there's all kinds of, and it's out of necessity. What are you going to do here with this? You've got all these trades, one trade, you moved Henrique out, but you got all these injuries. There's no McTavish, there's no Terry, there's no Zegras, there's no Carlson. You're definitely absolutely crushed and decimated a little bit at the center ice spot going into this game. There's no choice here. You've got to make do with what you've got right now. So this is actually a game I was contemplating Anaheim. I can't touch Anaheim now with all these injuries and with all this change in the lineup and all the center ice position where you got Isaac Lundestrom, man, on the second line center. My goodness, that's when it's a little thin down the middle at the center ice position for the Anaheim Ducks here tonight. Gibson's day-to-day, I believe we're going to see, yes, it is, Lucas Dostal in net for the Anaheim Ducks. Should be Anton Forsberg in net for Ottawa, but it has not been confirmed as of yet. Him and Korpisalo have both been banged up, but Forsberg apparently has joined the Ottawa Senators on the road trip and is closer to a return than Korpisalo is. Korpisalo's been ill, but he's also on the road trip as well. So I don't think we're going to see Sogard, who got the start against Philadelphia over the weekend. So I think it's probably going to be Forsberg if I had to guess, but that's not been confirmed. So I'm already on the over trifecta, okay? I'm not buying out of it. I've already placed the bets. I'm not buying out of it. I'm a little bit more hesitant on it now, but I'm sticking with it. But I'm going to add Ottawa team total over 3.5, I think, a little bit, rather than the money line. I think you can look at Ottawa team total. Obviously, I don't want anything to do with a minus 190 right now with the Ottawa Senators, even with Anaheim's issues galore. But I do think they could do some damage. There's so much change in the lineup that it could just throw Anaheim completely out of whack with defensive coverage. You got guys playing center that aren't used to playing that far up the lineup. You got defensemen playing forward. You know what I mean? You could just have all kinds of issues with coverage tonight defensively, and just communication's a big part of playing defense. And when you're just not used to playing with who you're playing, or the minutes you're playing, or who you're up against on the other team, better players on the other team when you moved up the lineup in the center ice spot, like a Lundestrom tonight for Anaheim, that's when you can struggle. That's when the coverage breaks down. That's when you can make mistakes defensively, and ultimately that's where you can give up goals. So I think it could be a little bit of a tough night here and Dostal is going to need 50 saves again, Tommy. That's what he's going to need, and he's capable of it. Maybe he's going to stand on his head and it's 2-1 Ottawa or 2-1 Anaheim, and the overs go to hell, and the Ottawa team total over doesn't get there. But to me, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take Dostal having a Marty Brodeur type of night, a Pat Waugh type of night, a Grant Fuhr type of night in between the pipes to keep Ottawa off the board and keep Anaheim together defensively in this game. So I'll take my chances he's not able to play at that kind of a level consistently. He played great against Vancouver, but can he do it against the question with a weaker group in front of him? Big question mark for me. So over trifecta, over 1.5, over both teams to score first period, over 6.5, and a little Ottawa team total over 3.5 as well. Alex, Ottawa, Anaheim.
Well, we're kind of against each other in this spot because I have the under 6.5 minus $1.05.
Oh boy! All right.
I liked it off of series history. It's 1-11 until you see 11 of the last 12 meetings go under the total. But like you said, with all these changes,
true. That is true. That's a strong under series history with these two teams. You wouldn't think it, but it is.
And then when you add the fact that you said all these changes for Anaheim between the injuries and now the trades, I think this is going to be kind of a sloppy game where no one really gets anything going. Now, against a better team, yeah, I'd be all over the team totals and the overs. Like I said, Anaheim could be just kind of tripping over their own feet, but I don't trust Ottawa to do much of anything either. So I think this is kind of a low and slow hockey game, and I'm riding with the under. I got it minus $1.05, under 6.5.
All right, under 6.5 here for Alex. Thinking low and slow, and maybe all these changes in the lineup, passes are out of sync. Chemistry with line mates isn't there, and offenses could be a little out of sync. Potentially as well in spots like this where it's just so much change. And it looks like, by the way, I still think this is a good prop game. You absolutely have to bet Frank Vatrano. Like, who is going to score for Anaheim tonight? It's got to be him. He's had a terrific season, 29 goals. I mean, you're not getting great prices with him, but you certainly have to look in the Frank Vatrano direction if you're going to look at anybody as far as props tonight for the Anaheim Ducks. Ryan Strome, I'd be interested, but he's not in good form. I would look at Killorn. Killorn scored in 2 of the last 3 games. He's going to have to deliver the goods offensively with Terry and McTavish and Zegras out and Henrique traded away. And I'm going to go to Max Jones here. Mr. Jones. Max Jones here, 3 points in the last 2 games, a goal as well for the Anaheim Ducks. He's on the second line now with Lundestrom and Jakob Silfverberg for the Anaheim Ducks. By the way, Lundestrom does have 2 goals in the last 4 games.
I'm not sure if that's Ian's computer that froze again or not. If you guys can hear me, let me know in the chat.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we're back. But basically, Max Jones, I think, worth a look. Lundestrom does have 2 goals in the last 4 games, so keep that in mind as well for the Anaheim Ducks. That might be worth a look. And then for Ottawa, Pinto, Batherson, definitely we've talked about those guys ad nauseum, but it's 2 guys that have been, rolling offensively for a good portion of time now for the Ottawa Senators. So, definitely as far as props go for them, that's where it starts for me. Pinto, Batherson, definitely look in those directions as far as player props with the Ottawa Senators going into this game. We'll have to see where, what's funny about Chychrun. Chychrun did get he hasn't been great with the point production. I was maybe thinking Jake Chychrun here, but hasn't been great with the point production. Matthew Joseph, I'm sometimes interested, but he's been quiet lately. I think the more reliable candidates here tonight, don't overthink it. Pinto's been really reliable with Giroux and Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk. And Pinto, you look at it, he's got 6 points in the last 4 games, including 2 goals. And then Batherson, who's just been on a great run, 4 goals in the last 5 games for the Ottawa Senators entering tonight. So definitely looking at those guys as far as props for Ottawa tonight. Great stuff. Some good opinions here, even though it's only 3 games on the card tonight. Lots of good discussion, interesting ways to look at this game tonight. And Alex isn't kidding. He said he'd start to look at some unders here later in the season. And look, we're starting to see it. And we are starting to see more unders just overall. There's no doubt in NHL action here down the stretch. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Am I seeing this right? 438 live viewers.
Wow.
This has got to be a live
Wonderful.
viewership.
That's a record.
It's got to be. It's got to be. We can't thank you enough. We appreciate it. If you are new here and watching this show for the first time, we are the only 7 days a week NHL betting show, the Ice Guys, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern, and we break down every single game on the NHL card each and every day, sides, totals, and player props from a betting perspective. So welcome aboard if you are tuning into the show for the very first time.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching us on YouTube. I know, shout out to those who are watching on the Twitter streams, on the Facebook streams as well. But we want to thank all of you for tuning in and sticking around and hanging out with us.
We appreciate it very much, as we appreciate our Patreon members, where you can sign up for just $10 per month. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. You'll get our sides, totals, and player props each and every day. The betting card for me and Alex posted on the Patreon page for members. You'll get our daily, you'll get goalie charts. You'll get Chris Otto's totals charts. You will get, of course, bonus video content. We will have a Patreon exclusive Ice Guys live Betcast later this month. in the month of March. So we're looking forward to that as well. To get all of that and more, sign up for just $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys. And again, your $10 per month subscription goes a long way to keeping this show going for the long term. So sign up and subscribe, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. And a reminder that this month, our free for all Betcast, that's not Patreon exclusive. This one is free for all, open to the public, open to everyone that wants to join us. Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's a great card that night. Lots of great games on the NHL slate. Live Betcast, me, Alex. I'm sure Matt will be joining us. A bunch of our great guests as well, viewers and listeners of the show. And what it is, again, we've got a lot of new viewers clearly here with the amount that are watching now. It's a live Betcast. We just watch the games as they unfold, live betting. We throw back a few beers, a little whiskey every now and then. It really is a bar and pub atmosphere with every Ice Guys live Betcast. And we will have one again on Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And again, DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the Betcast. We will make sure we send you the StreamYard link for it before it begins. And last but not least, check out the Ice Guys store. Get your gear and get your Ice Guys merch at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, you can get wonderful hoodies like this one shown here. We also have T-shirts, we have caps, we have mugs. We've even got little bunnies. We got everything that you need at the Ice Guys store at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Bookmark it now. Put things in your cart. Wait till after midnight, because after midnight, there will be a 20% off discount code that will be at the top of the page. You hit redeem, and you get 20% off. So we will have 20% off of all your orders starting tomorrow. So bookmark it, shop around now, and then wait for that coupon to click in to save at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
And Russell Deck said it right. That Betcast, the last one, Dallas second period over. Yes, we all got on that bet. Dallas and Colorado, the last Betcast, and 18 straight it was at the time. And we all had a collective win, and we all celebrated after. So that's the kind of camaraderie we have on the Ice Guys live Betcast. So we are definitely looking forward to March the 26th. And Matt's got it right. Win or lose, always booze.
Indeed.
Yeah, exactly. Day or night, always booze as well. So yeah, exactly. Doesn't matter, especially with the booze factor. We'll get our licks in no matter what the occasion. Great stuff. We'll be back in just a moment. We got our bargain bin special of the night. And we also, and by the way, shout out to Matt Robinson. He was the only man to cash bargain bin yesterday. Wyatt Johnston,
Well done.
over 1.5 points, plus 350 for the Dallas Stars last night against San Jose. So
that was an easy winner.
Give Matt a break, right? People give Matt flack for, he's a Dallas Stars fan. He's always picking from the Dallas Stars games. His best bet is bargain bin, but he knows his team, and all that matters is he's putting money in your pocket and he's picking winners. So that's all that matters.
I'm pretty sure getting over 1.5 points for a guy who has 5 points on the night, pretty good win. Also pretty good when last time he was on the Betcast, he went 12-0 with all his Dallas Stars bets in one game. So, he knows his Stars pretty well, and that's why we keep having him on the show.
Yeah, he knows his team. And if that's what he feels strongest about and most confident about, Dallas Star game or otherwise, he can pick whatever the fuck he wants. And it's going to put money in people's pockets. That's the main thing at the end of the day. No question about it. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bet coming up right after we hear from our great daily sponsors, Boston Hemp. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. And again, you can get 20% off all your orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys over at bostonhempinc.com. All right, it is time for Bargain Bin Special of the night. And again, if you're new to the show, this is the segment where we recommend our favorite prop of the night that is plus 300 or better as far as the price is, and we call it our bargain bin special of the night. Alex, and we've been killing it with these throughout the course of the season. Alex, bargain bin special, where are you going tonight with it?
So I'm going to the Detroit-Colorado game, and someone who I've been a fan of for his entire career, and someone who's really been doing a great job for the Detroit Red Wings is Sir Patrick Kane. Give me him to get 2 assists, plus 480. That's available at FanDuel. Like I said, there's a lot of good guys around him. Joe Veleno, Alex DeBrincat. We've been seeing him kind of chipping in on the power play as well. He's been facilitating for others. He's been getting his goals as well, but he's the guy who is going to facilitate. He's one of the best playmakers in National Hockey League history for a reason. So Sir Patrick Kane, plus 480, 2 assists tonight for the Wings against the Avs.
Now, make sure you get this right for if you're betting that and tailing that look. This is assists. This is over 1.5 assists. This is not over 1.5 points, and there is a difference in the price, obviously, between the two. Patrick Kane over 1.5 points is only plus 240. Over 1.5 assists is around plus 480. So make sure you keep that in mind. So over 1.5 assists or 2 or more assists, whatever you want to call it, Patrick Kane plus 480 for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. There's lots to choose from. It's a really good slate. As far as bargain bin special, there's some good options here across the board. I'm going to go with, it's tough. Joe Veleno's in the mix. I really like Joe Veleno here tonight for Detroit. That's honorable mention. I was going to go with Joe Veleno initially, but, and it's a really good price, plus 550 tonight. I will go with Joe Veleno because I was going to go Cousins. Dylan Cousins was the other one I was thinking of. He's heating up for Buffalo, plus 315. But why would I always go for the bigger price? I do. And that's what I'm going to do here in this game. I'm going to go for the bigger price with Joe Veleno centering the top line tonight with the aforementioned Sir Patrick Kane here for the Red Wings on that top line tonight, filling the spot vacated by the injured Dylan Larkin. Joe Veleno, Detroit Red Wings, plus 550 at FanDuel. Again, a great opportunity for him maybe to find the back of the net for the Red Wings. And this is someone we've cashed a bargain bin special prop with early in the season. Hopefully he can reward us again tonight. Joe Veleno, Detroit Red Wings, plus 550 for my bargain bin special of the night for this Wednesday NHL card. All right, it is time for best bets to wrap it up. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
Yeah, I hope my microphone's not being weird. I'm seeing people in chat mentioning that. But best bet tonight, we will go out to Toronto. And this is a rivalry game, Buffalo-Toronto. There's been, beef back and forth. And Buffalo has dominated Toronto in, 7 of the last 10 meetings, getting victories, a 9-3 win in their last matchup. I think this one is a little bit more calmer, a little lower and slower. I think it goes past 60 minutes. So get the regulation draw. That's on the three-way line. Three-way draw, regulation draw. You get that as high as plus 380 at FanDuel. Buffalo-Toronto to go past regulation tonight. It's draw season, and we're expecting that to roll on with the Toronto Maple Draws and the Buffalo Sabres.
All right, there we go. That is the draw here with the Sabres and the Leafs tonight for Alex B. Smith with his best bet for this Wednesday NHL card. Yeah, that's Alex's mic, it looks like, so that's all right. We'll get it fixed. It can't always have perfect production every single day. My best bet, I'm going to go with the Sabres and Leafs over 6.5. I mean, it's 7 goals or more in 9 of the last 10 meetings between these two teams. And for just some reason, these two teams play each other. We're going to see offense. We've seen it repeatedly. And +2 with the Leafs playing Boston tomorrow night and knowing the fact that they kind of got shut down by Boston at home. Get their offense going, I think, is going to be the mantra. They'll be able to score on the Sabres, and I think vice versa, because, look, Toronto just always seems to at least give up a few to the Buffalo Sabres. So Buffalo-Toronto over 6.5 for my best bet here for this Wednesday NHL card, over 6.5, minus 110 for my best bet. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Thursday with Matty Robinson back in the house as well for the Thursday edition of the Ice Guys.